Are you ready to start in Blender? Um, Bunny. Do you have any trouble adjusting to the idea? Um, I mean, GIMP is about pixels. Blender is about vertices, edges, and faces.
Yes, Turtle, I have the general idea. GIMP is like drawing on a piece of paper, while Blender is more like making a sculpture. And like a sculpture, if you want an image of what you are building, you need to take a picture.
Yes, that's why Blender has a camera. Have you ever thought about, if you use a virtual camera to photograph a virtual object, then you get a real picture?
Well, it does make sense, doesn't it? It's like how a double negative turns into a positive.
Well, most of the time, a double negative just means more negative. You need to listen to tone and context. Sometimes a person is being very emphatic, and that's when you really don't want to point out a grammatical inconsistency. You might end up wishing you had your own turtle shell. Anyway, we are going to be working with basic Blender shapes. Mostly spheres. We will move, rotate, and scale the spheres to fit the orthographic design drawing that we made last time with GIMP. See the links below. So, while most Blender character models are made as one big model that is a very complicated shape, we will make our guy out of basic Blender shapes. It's a lot easier, especially for people that are just learning.
But, we will be using a drawing with both a front view and a side view. So, doesn't that make things more complicated? We need to set up two views of the same object. And we have to match a drawing. I always find that, when I want to learn, I just like to play around and see what I can do.
Oh yes. People can certainly play around, and it's a good idea. Unfortunately, as much as I like Blender, it is complicated. The problem with Blender is that we can build so much using it, and it can do so many things that the interface is, well, huge in its complexity. So, sometimes it's easier to follow some directions, even when you are just starting out. And, an orthographic design drawing will really help people who are just starting Blender to understand what it is like working in more than 2 dimensions.
Well, okay, Turtle. I have watched you work with Blender before, and I think I have a pretty good idea of what we are going to do. So, let's make some spheres, and build ourselves a mouse. I'm nervous, but I don't know why. I mean, we already know what lineally is going to look like in 3D, since we made the design plan. But, it's still exciting for some reason. Are you nervous, Turtle?
Probably not as much as you, Bunny. But, well, rabbits are always nervous, aren't you? I think I read that someplace. I'm a turtle, so I'm naturally cool-blooded. We do get nervous, but it's a mellow nervousness. And, it can take a while to show itself. But, it's like you said. We have a pretty good idea what lineally is going to look like. His front view looks good, and so does his side view. So, if he looks good in the principal views, there's a pretty good chance that he will be okay. But, you are an artist, so I guess that just following a plan must seem tedious to you? Even if it's a plan that you mostly made? Could you be nervous about how boring you might get?
No. That's just it. I don't feel like I will get bored. I'm just not sure. I'm sure lineally will look good, but I'm just not sure how good. That just makes me nervous, I guess. And, maybe it's that I will be learning Blender. I know that you are here to make sure I'm okay. He will be made mostly out of spheres, or balls, right? I know that you make a point that once we stretch a sphere or squash a sphere then it's no longer a sphere, so we should call it a ball, but then, even you sometimes call it a sphere.
Yes, that's just me getting technical. Don't worry about that. It's a good reminder that we should be giving the bits that we add names, so, remind me to do that. We should, also remember to lower the detail for most of the spheres as we add them. Blender gives us a default sphere that has a lot more vertices than we need. It's easy to lower the number of sections and rings that a sphere is made out of, so long as we remember to go to the new object properties as soon as we add something.
Yes. I actually remembered that part. Of course, remembering something before the event is not the same as remembering the thing in the moment. And if we forget to simplify an object when we add it, then it is not easy to fix later. You said that we probably should just delete the object and add a new one, when that happens. So, do you remember what we were talking about when we drew the design? We were thinking that, in some ways, Lineoli was designing himself. That's like, well, every time we add a new bit, it has to fit in with the bits that are already there. So, it's the character that is deciding where the bits go. So, Lineoli is in charge of building Lineoli. Maybe that's why I feel nervous. I mean, you will be looking over my shoulder, and I know that you don't worry when I make a mistake, but I don't like it. I mean, I don't like making mistakes when people are watching. And now I'm thinking, it's not only you that's watching me. It's our project, Lineoli, who is really concerned about how he will turn out. Do you think that he will be upset when I mess up?
It's going to be hard to tell what Lineoli is thinking before we give him eyebrows. We didn't draw eyebrows in the design. Are we going to give the guy eyebrows?
Oh. My. I think we will have to. Like you said. We need to have some way to read his expressions, and well, I'm sure we will add eyelids, but... Well... Turtle? Are you disappointed that you don't have eyebrows? I know turtles usually don't. Rabbits do usually have whiskers for eyebrows, and I sometimes wonder if I should have had eyebrows.
No, Bunny. You look fine. Nobody is perfect. You must know that. Don't you? Nobody is perfect, and that's why we have room for play. Play really helps us to learn, and grow and improve ourselves.
Yes. I agree with that. It's something that Pete says, I know. But, well, I like to play, and playing does help me to learn. I make mistakes and I don't like the feeling when I make a mistake, so, that helps me remember to not make that mistake again. But, well, no matter how much I play and make mistakes and learn, I don't think I will ever get eyebrows.
Okay. So, you really think that lineally should have eyebrows, because you don't, and you think that, maybe that was a mistake. Well, I guess that makes sense. And if lineally is in charge of lineally, even while he is being built, then, if that's true, then, you would have been in charge of Bunny, even as you were being built, too. So, if that's how it works, then, I guess it's your fault that you don't have eyebrows. But, no. No. Bunny. As I said, you look fine as you are. You are Bunny. If you had eyebrows, then you wouldn't be the same Bunny, and I don't know, well, you need to be you. Not some idea of who you might have been if you weren't being you.
Well, thank you, Turtle, that was nice and I am glad that you are you too. So, okay. I just hope that lineally will like who he is. But, I guess, we do the best we can, with what we have. So, Turtle? Do you know about Marshall McLuhan? He's the guy that said, the medium is the message. Which, doesn't sound like it makes a lot of sense. But, then he also said that, the content is the audience. And, then you know he must have been crazy, except, well, he was a university professor when he said it. So his students had to try to make sense out of it. So, well, let's say that lineally is the content, then he is also the audience. And right now he is moving from one medium, a 2D orthographic drawing, to another medium, Blender. Does that make sense?
Well, yes. Pete told me about Marshall McLuhan, but I always thought that McLuhan was just twisting something that should be straightforward into a puzzle to give to his students. But, I guess we can play with the idea. I hadn't heard about the content being the audience. But, I guess that what McLuhan might be suggesting is that while lineally is an orthographic design drawing, then it's all about his orthographicness. But, now that he is moving into the world of Blender, then he should be all about Blender. But, of course, Blender is just another step towards becoming a posed character in a scene or an animated video. So, we should take that into account. Well, we did think about giving him a mouth that could be moved in case he wants to talk. Do you think that we should be thinking about lineally as a character for a story, like, he is a wise old man mouse, or should we be thinking that he is an animated Blender character? I would say, that, again, McLuhan was just making puzzles for his students. The medium is the message certainly doesn't tell us how big his ears should be. Does it? Lineally is a big mouse, but really, the picture we are using doesn't say how big he is, does it? But, I remember seeing another picture of him next to two elves. So, I think he is probably as tall as a short adult human.
Well, I'm not going to complain about size, but well, we will want a mouse that is big enough to talk to humans. But, the word mouse, well, it suggests small, doesn't it? He could be really big instead, to play with the dichotomy and contradiction. But, I don't think Owl would want that. There aren't a lot of tall wise men, are there? I mean, she didn't want a wise woman mouse, just so that we would stay with the stereotype. Okay. Just don't get me started on stereotypes. Okay. Let's just say, a short adult human size. We don't really need to decide that until Lineal-Lee's model is done and he is ready to be used in a scene.
It's okay, Bunny. No worries, right? Well, as you said, we don't really need to worry about how big he is anyway. And, of course, he is going to a magical person on a magical world, so maybe he will be able to change his size anyway.
Okay, Turtle. I like that idea. He is a powerful magician, but not powerful enough to change his appearance. Just his size. Maybe that's because he is lineally the gray. When he becomes lineally the white, he will be able to change something else. Maybe he will learn how to change his clothes. That will give us more work, then won't it?
That would be a lot more work. For this style of Blender model, the clothes are harder than most of the body. But, no worries. Just don't sign us up for too much. Especially if it involves sweaters. Don't get me started about pullovers, or especially bunny hugs. Did you know that most of the world don't even know that a bunny hug is clothes? Anyway. I've said it before. Eyeballs are easy. Elbows are hard. But I will add to that saying. Long-sleeved sweaters are the hardest. No matter how big they are.
Well, Turtle. We have gone into edit mode a few times so that we can mirror some of the bits, and well, edit mode doesn't seem all that scary, now. That's something that is nice about Blender. S is always for scale. R is always for rotate and G is always for go, or move. And so, when we went into edit mode to move parts of the mesh around or stretch or squash it or rotate it, well, I already know what to press. That's cool. So, is extruding as easy as mirroring?
Well, you know that people are basically just a collection of vertices, edges, and faces, right? Well, when we extrude a vertex, we get another vertex connected to the first with an edge. And if we extrude an edge, we get a face, complete with the new vertices and edges needed to define it. I don't know that we ever extrude a face, except that we are extruding the vertices and edges that define the face. Anyway. We usually don't think that way, anyway. We just extrude some mesh and get new mesh. You just need to practice a little to get used to it.
Extruding sounds like extra rude, but it really isn't. Owl always talks about how learning allows us to grow as people, but really, it's extruding that allows us to grow, isn't it?
Well, actually, scaling is a much easier way to grow as a person, but a big person will just be an annoying person if they don't learn along the way. And, well, Bunny. We learn through practice, so we will get you to do some extruding the next time we get the chance, okay? It's easy enough. Just select a line of vertices and edges and then, E to extrude.
Okay. Turtle. I really don't want to annoy you, and well, I have watched you extruding before and you are right. It doesn't look difficult. But, it does look like it might be risky if I'm not careful. So, I want to extrude to make more mesh, but if I extrude into the existing mesh I will get a mess of a mesh.
Well, Bunny, you can be careful, I know, when you try. Just take it one step at a time, and well, avoid hopping around for a while. You can still play, just keep your play inside of small boundaries, and one of the walls of the playground is the existing mesh. After we press E to extrude we can press G to move or S to scale, and then make some sort of change, so that the new mesh that we make isn't in exactly the same place as the mesh we already have. That can make for some interesting problems. But, don't be afraid to extrude and remember, there's always Ctrl Z. A lot of mistakes can be undone with Ctrl Z. I think we can start to see who our character is. I like to look at the model from different viewpoints. That must be quite different for you, Bunny, when you are used to working with traditional 2D graphics. And, hopefully the guy looks okay from most of the viewpoints. Of course. If they don't always look quite right, from every angle, we can try making some small changes.
Well, a lot of that is like drawing a picture. I make small changes once I can start to see who the person is. I think that, well, I think that this is the character coming out and taking control. That's when we try to be careful not to change who the person is. We are all loyal to the person that we think we are. We all think that we should be the person that we think that we are. That's why I think that the character is taking charge of their own design. Changes mean that the existing person stops and a new person starts. We feel a strong loyalty to our old self, but none at all to the person that we are becoming, even if we are trying to improve ourselves. Maybe, it's because our new self is so new that we can't trust them.
You do like to make things complicated? Don't you, Bunny? So, you are playing with the idea that, you don't like to change, even when you are trying to improve yourself. And, well, somehow you see that, as evidence that the character you are building is starting to take control. You are saying that, well, the character is feeling threatened by the changes, even though, it's really your own feelings that you are feeling.
Yes. Turtle. It's called empathy. Any normal person feels empathy for other people. I know that you feel empathy. I don't like people who don't feel empathy and I like you.
Well, thank you, Bunny. And, well, I guess if we follow the same reasoning, you must feel empathy too. But, well, you just said you do feel empathy. but getting back to our guy coming to life. You are saying that people feel loyalty to who they think that they are. What Owl would call their self-concept. And then you said something more interesting. You said that we don't like to change, even if it's an improvement. So, you must spend a lot of time fighting with yourself to learn, because isn't that all about self-improvement? Maybe, that's why you hop around so much. Are you just trying to dodge from your own self-training?
No, Turtle. I know why I hop around. It's because it's fun and I like to play. Anyway, I wasn't talking about myself. Well, I was, but it wasn't about myself. I mean, I'm talking about how our project is coming to life. And, well, I'm just saying that I know how it feels. When we want to learn and grow, but there is a big part of ourselves that feels betrayed. We spend so much time trying to convince ourselves that we are okay, that we don't need to be perfect. So, well, I don't know if you have ever heard Pete say this, and I don't want you to get the wrong idea, but well, Pete said that education is self-betrayal. And what he meant was, I know it because he made it a point, that part of learning is fighting against our own self-concepts. Especially people who believe that they can't learn and grow.
Well, I really hope that Lineally believes in learning and growing, because he really needs some more bits before he can really call himself done. We have gone from 2 dimensions to 3 dimensions, but I would say that we will be moving into the 4th dimension, which is time. As we animate our guy, we will be moving into the 4th dimension. Have you thought about time as a dimension, Bunny?
Sorry Turtle, your idea of a 4th dimension has a problem with its interpretation dimension. I always think that things have many more dimensions. It's a separate definition from the one you are using, but well, any situation can have lots and lots of dimensions. Like this conversation now has an awkwardness dimension. But, I do get what you are saying, and, it's an interesting idea to be going into the 4th physical dimension. It's even more interesting to be moving toward animation. To think that this guy that I drew is going to walk and talk and do other things that we haven't even thought about. I think that must be more than just one extra dimension.
I see what you mean, Bunny. About there being other dimensions, because there is another definition for dimensions. I guess the word dimension has multiple dimensions. Do you see what I did there? Well, then let's think about Lineally as he moves past being an animated 3D character, into the multi-dimensional dimension. I mean, he will become a character in a story. He will become a much more complex and, interesting person. He will have a backstory complete with different character arcs. He must have some sort of goal and some sort of challenges that are stopping him from reaching his goal.
Oh, Turtle. You are good at clarifying an idea. I wasn't thinking about how Lineally was going to become a character in a story. But I am now. That's very interesting and exciting. I want to start thinking about where Lineoli came from. How did he get so good at magic? What sort of magic skills is he good at? We were thinking earlier that he would be good at manipulating people, even though, we had also talked about how there is a cult that all have the skill to manipulate people and use it for evil. Can a person be very manipulative, while using his skills purely for good?
Well, Bunny. You seem to be ready to trust Lineoli. Are you sure that you aren't just falling into the wise man stereotype? Sorry. Just joking, I don't want to get you started. Okay. When I started out talking about dimensions, I was thinking about letters of the alphabet. I was going to ask if we use X, Y, and Z for the first 3 dimensions, then, what letter should we use for time as a dimension? Now, with all these other dimensions, I think we will run out of letters.
It's good to zoom out to think about the big picture sometimes.
You mean, like when you are adding toes, you should look at whether they fit the foot. And of course, then you need to zoom out some more to be sure the foot matches the leg. Then to see if the leg matches the rest of the body. And, well, Blender lets us rotate the view. We can see our work from different viewpoints. It gives you a different perspective. I mean, if you are using a perspective view. If you are using an orthographic view, then of course you have no perspective. That's what orthographic means. Press number pad 5 while viewing to see the difference.
That's very technical of you to say, Turtle, which is why we love you, but I was thinking more about the big picture. I mean, not just what Lineoli looks like, but who he is, of course. What do you think that he likes to do in his spare time? How does he feel about snail shells? Is he a loner or does he need to be around other people?
That's what you think about when you are adding fingers and toes. Which makes me wonder, Bunny. What do you think about snail shells?
Well, I don't. I mean, I don't even know why I said that, Turtle. Anyway, we aren't here to talk about me. I already have all my fingers and toes.
Well, Lineoli seems to be coming along nicely, Bunny. And you seem to know which way is up and down, and forwards and backwards, and sideways, and the other sideways. Working with an orthographic drawing is a big help for keeping track of the 3 dimensions, isn't it?
Yes, I agree that having both a front view and a side view really does help keeping track of, well, every which way, but I did already have some understanding of how orthographic works. You do remember that I was the one who drew the orthographic design layout? And of course, for Blender up and down we use Z, and side to side is x, while front to back is y. But, then after building a whole mouse, I can do that without thinking.
Yes, it's good practice. Later you will be able to do a more traditional 3D model. I mean, where the entire body is one big complicated shape. That's where you really understand the saying that elbows are hard. So, after we have most to the bits done, we will be able to give lineally a skeleton, but we will call it an armature, because we are experienced Blender artists. Adding an armature is called rigging. Because our guy is made out of lots of separate objects, rigging is a little different from rigging the traditional, big, complicated, object character. It's easier, but more tedious. Lineally has a lot of bits to rig. But it will be good practice. And, you will get more practice with all the skills you learned so far. Even extruding.
Turtle, you seem pretty excited about adding the skeleton armature. But, I'm guessing that I will be the one doing the tedious bits. But, that's okay. As you say, it's a good way to learn.
Well, I guess I am a little excited, but I think that I am liking how this character is looking and I am excited to see him animated. Well, that isn't for a few more sessions, but, well, he's coming along and I am sure that we won't have any big scary problems.
Okay, Turtle. No big scary problems, but that just means that we will have lots of little scary problems? Right?
Probably. I don't know what problems we are going to have, but that's just like every creative project. We are never totally sure how things are going to turn out, but if we never had problems, we wouldn't need a bunny to come and sort them out. Well, okay. I can sort out some problems myself, but somehow they are more fun when you're involved. We always get that random bit of extra chaos to add to the mix. And then you come up with some patterns that I just don't see, so thank you for your help.
Well, thank you for helping me, Turtle. And now I am getting excited about the idea of animating, but at the same time, I am getting worried about rigging. When a job gets really tedious, some people can get a little distracted and make mistakes. I hope that I'm not going to mess up. Not too many times. Even if I will be there to add chaos to the solutions. It would be wonderful if nothing scary happened.
We now have our mouse character, named lineally. Mostly built as far as mesh objects are concerned. So, in our next session we will be working on rigging and skinning. Rigging means giving our guy an armature. Kind of a skeleton. So, Just like a skeleton is made out of bones, an armature is also made out of bones. We will attach, by parenting, different mesh object bits to the bones so that we will be able to pose lineally by arranging his bones. We will also skin lineally, which means that we will create image textures that we display on our guy by making materials. Hopefully we will be able to give him fur and some cloth robes. We will probably also add some more bits like eyelids and eyebrows. So, if you would like to follow along, please like and subscribe so that YouTube will know to show you more videos like this one. And if you would like to see our previous video where Bunny drew the orthographic layout, then see the links below. We also have a website and a Discord, so again, see the links below. And we are Wild Art Fly Free and we are all about creativity. Thanks for watching.